Hello. Troubleshooting slow network communication or connection timeout in Linux. Okay, switch to the terminal and I will quickly explain. The troubleshooting of slow network or network packet drops can be tricky. And in addition to slow network communication, there may be additional symptoms observed, such as attempts to connect a server with SSH or SFTP results in timeouts or delayed response. When the network load goes high, there are a high number of network retransmits observed, and there may be large number of packet drops seen in the output of the ifconfig command. So ifconfig command is this one, and let's say ifconfig eth0, right? IPA displays the interfaces, so you can the same do with virtual bridge 5BBR1, and you will see RX packets, TX packets, and you can see errors and drops also. So, excellent. Some other symptoms also include the output of the command netstat as shows increasing values of the following stat. I will inform you. I will tell you exactly how it's working. So we are going to use netstat s and the interface eth0, right? And here, if there will be problem, there will be an output exactly, and we'll say that, for example, 15,000 packets pruned from the receive queue because of socket buffer overrun. It will also display information how many times the listen queue of a socket overflowed, how many sends to listen sockets ignored, and how many packets collapse in receive queue due to low socket buffer. It also will display information about TCP backlog drop, and you will be able to observe the increasing value. So, how to run this command properly? So, first of all, what you need to do if you want to run it several times, you should do something like for e in, let's say 1 to 20, okay, semicolon do and net dot -s ethernet 0, right? It should go to the net dot eth0.log file, and here we go, done, right? And if you will count this netstat eth0log, you will be able to observe those commands here was running all the time. So it's difficult to look for something like that. So you can use the grep command, and grep, for example, dropped, right? And you can see the value is all the time the same. Or you can use a value like the errors, something like that. I think you should see errors here, right? Or you can try to look for, I don't know what it be, a buffer, right? It will see, you will see errors for proper information. So proper values will be displayed here on the screen. So thanks to this, you can review the log and you can extract proper information. So how to install those packages? First of all, for example, I'm on the OpenSUSE, so CNF netstat. So nettools deprecated must be installed. So zipper install nettools deprecated, and the same but without deprecated should be here. This is the Debian PC OS release. So apt install, because I'm a root, and net tools, and tool deprecated. And the same, what if I want to check ifconfig command, ifconfig, for example, it's also in nettools deprecated. So both nettools contains the netstat and ifconfig commands packages. Okay, so what is interesting? Next command we will use, and it's called ethtool, and you need to install it this way: apt install ethtool, and here the install ethtool, right? So after that, you can run something like, once again, you want to observe the output of the command ethtool -S and the name of the interface. So by default, it's this command ethtool S and eth0, right? And it will display all the information, detailed information about RX and text packages. And the same here will be eth0. Excellent, but what if you would like to run it more? So the same situation here, but we'll do something like this: ethtool, capital S, and it will be ethtool, eth0 log done. Okay, so I did it 20 times. Display cat ethtool, but you can see there is a lot of errors. So what are you looking for? You are looking for this W, Rx, this value, FW, these cards, right? So grab this value and ethtool log. There is nothing here like this, because there is no drop, there is no problems with the adapter card. So we'll try to use the Rx command. Rx, we can look for something like FW. There is nothing like that. But if you would like to observe errors, you can look for this. Or if you want to, I don't know where it will be drop, but we can try to look for this. Drop it. Yes, you can see dropped. So we can see the value for drop. So the value is 0. So this is correct. Causes of slower network performance. There could be multiple reasons for slower network performance, but some of the possible causes are: the network is already highly loaded up to its maximum capacity and there is a congestion. The received buffer configured is not sufficient for the network load. There are packet drops due to errors at the physical layer. So we will try to divide this to 3 groups. I hope so, and I will try to explain this and how to troubleshoot it. So the first group is actually the last one. There are packet drops due to errors at the physical layer. So it means exactly that. For example, you have a host that is running KVM, KEMO, or RC, and on this you have or Proxmox, and you have a lot of virtual machines, and the physical adapter, physical network interface card, is damaged because it's running 20, 30, 40 years and it should be replaced, right? So how to troubleshoot something like this? And actually, or if there is a network highly loaded, or you receive buffers configured, but the received buffer configured is not sufficient for the network load. This is a separate topic, and we will talk about it later. I will explain it, how to make it work. But first of all, you want to troubleshoot those two that you see the packet drops, because there are errors on a physical layer, and or the network is already highly loaded, right? Up to its maximum capacity. So what you need to do you need to install the hyper3 tool. So zipper install hyper3, and here the same apt install hyper3. Excellent. So the next step is to actually decide. Here it's easy, but you need to know which machine is a server and which machine is a client. Of course, it's very easy and it's obvious because the laptop or desktop you're working on your daily basis, it's of course the client, and the server you're testing, it's a server, right? So let's say Raspberry Pi in my LAN box is a server, and it's somewhere over there in my corridor. So I would like to run a test with Hyper. So first of all, what I need to do is I need to tell Hyper3 that this machine is a server, so -s, and I would like to set the interval for 1 second. By default, if I remember, it's 1 second. It can be 10 seconds, but 1 second is fair enough. So it should listen on this port. But if you are running a firewall, you need to check. So UFW, because I disabled it, UFW enable. Okay, and UFW status, and it displays the open ports. And let's say I want to listen on port 80, but I'm not sure what is listening on this port 80. So what I will do, I'm just using the SS toolpan, grep 80, it shows the information, and there is nothing listening on TCP protocol because by default Hyper3 is running using TCP IP protocol. Only Python 3 is listening on port 80 on a UDP protocol, so we can use Hyper3 as a server, interval 1, and the port will be 80 for TCP protocol, and hit enter. Excellent. And here again, firewall for system, CTL, that is because I know it's open firewall. It's service, it's inactive, so we are going to start it. Go, we are going to check the status, it's running, so firewall PMD, list all should shows us open ports. So only DHCP 6 client, SSH, and 1337 port I opened earlier. Fine, so what I have to do now is just to connect, this is the client, to connect to the server. So Hyper3, interval 1, and I can use the time. -t is the time to run the test in seconds. So let's say I want to run 10 seconds, and -t means provide IP address of a listening server. So in this case it will be 10.10.0.100, and here we go. It should connect, I suppose. It will not, because by default it is listening on port 5201. So we are defining the port 80, and now it's connected, and you should see the result here and also here, and you should observe the value, and here we go. You have the speed of the internet. You have a bandwidth 929.39 megabits per second. Excellent. Now this is the way we can check the speed. Of course, there is one important information, that we can provide the socket buffer size. which affects the TCP window. The buffer size is also set on the server by this client command. So you don't have to set on the server iperf -s -i one -v port and -w, because if you will do this here, you will set -w and let's say 204. I think K was. Yeah, so you can see the value decrease because I set the socket buffer size, right? So this way you can observe the speed, and what's interesting, I will try to describe. Between these two systems, we could achieve a bandwidth. Of course, it depends if we will set the buffer size or not, but the highest possible bandwidth was over 900 megabits per second, right? So this is fine. And interval means the test interval, and by default the value is 1 second, and it's displaying from 00 to 1 second, and you can observe it here, then here from 1 to 2, etc., etc. The transfer means how much data is transferred between the two nodes in the process of testing, of course, and the bandwidth is the performance indicator which we use to hyper-tree testing for, right? So this is an excellent example how to use it. Okay, we can of course decrease this. So let's say I want to use the 24 baht mega, so it should but the value will be the same. So you can look for the proper buffer size to increase the transfer and the bandwidth, of course, because you can see the transfer is different. So what next? You can also use the UDP protocol, but you need to inform the server to listen as a UDP protocol. So Control-C will break this, and instead of this, we will try to force this to listen as UDP. But I don't know where it works. I can try without the port, but I don't know where it works. SU. History. Grab other 3. It was SU. Because I was already testing it. I will try this SU B1 1M. No. B88 bytes, something like this. I doubt. But we'll try this way. Just listen as S, but this is strange because I'm not sure. We can try this way, but I'm afraid it will not work this way, and I need to define the port 80. I'm not sure it's listed here, but okay, we'll try from the client. So let's say I want to port 80, the C, the time interval, not in this case. I just want to listen UDP port UC. I'm not sure it's connect. I think that it's accepted, but it's not working because it's using something else. What I will do, I will try to stop the firewall D, system CTL stop firewall D, because I don't want to waste my time, and I will also disable the UFW disable. Okay, and now I will try to run it even without the ports, just like that. and it's listening on 5201, and here I will try to use it without the port, and it will work. So you can see the UDP is connected, and all you have to do is just to set the iPerf running as a server, and you can observe the bandwidth and the bitrate. Okay, so the bitrate is about 1.05. In the UDP mode, the client uses the default bandwidth, right? The 1 megabit per second. So to send the packet to the server. So we can see the bandwidth of UDP testing result is 1.05 megabits per second. And in order to obtain the best network bandwidth, we can add a -b value on a client only, just like that. And if you will use something like that, you will 2024 megabit, because this is the, or you can try to use 1G, and it should listen, and you see the speed increased, and instead of kilobytes it's sending megabytes, and you can see the bitrate is 949 megabits per second. So this way you can use it, but also you should be able to check the MTU. Let me check this. It was in the history something like this, but by the scripture. Okay, so let me check this. Okay, I'm trying to connect to, this is wrong, and I will listen this, and will be iperf. Okay, so let's do this. We are going to measure the MTU, the maximum transfer size, right? So not the protocol, not the B, and we'll use M88. And it should listen, and you can see the MTU. What is interesting, that the minimum MSS that can be set is 88 bytes, which means the minimum 128 MTU, but of course you can set a higher value. So let's say, I don't know it work, but 88K, it should work. And you can see the MTU is almost the same. But what if I will try to set another value? You can see invalid value at 80, invalid, 84 is invalid. So only 88 is working correctly. And of course you can, if I understand correctly, you can change the MTU. And by default the MTU is set to 1500. This is something, of course, the MTU is set here. So it should tell you that the default MTU is here defined. So it's about let me check. I think that this value can be changed in etc cctl file also, but by default we are not going to change this MTU, and you can of course look for the information how to change the MTU, but mostly by default it's just 1500 for the standard virtual bridge or virtual adapter or physical adapter. So in most cases 1500 is fine. So what's next? Actually, okay, so troubleshooting is done with iPerf 3. So the next step is actually something called configuration of buffers actually. And the receive buffers configured is not sufficient for the network load, right? This option. So we need to set the values for the network parameters appropriately to support the maximum network throughput. So what you have to do, you need to find the bandwidth delay product, BDP value, and set the network buffer size accordingly. So what is BDP? What is bandwidth delay product? Of course, you can look for in the Wikipedia, and I really recommend to check it. But how bandwidth delay product is calculated? It is calculated as the product of the link bandwidth and the round trip time. So usually it's something like that. The round trip time is multiplied by the link bandwidth. So if you know the link bandwidth, let's say I have a, I don't know, 1 gigabit per second network, so it will be about 10 the power of 9, and you need to have a result in bytes. So how to measure it? BDP, so bandwidth delay product, equals, and you have a round trip time. So the delay is about, in my network, is about 0.1 second. For a satellite, it will be satellite connection like Starlink. I don't know, maybe 0.5, something like that. I don't know the delay properly. Properly this, or maybe 1 second, something like that. But let's say I have a 0.1 brackets and multiply by the bandwidth, link bandwidth. So I have a 1 gigabit per second network, because you were able to observe that the maximum speed was 949, because I have another devices connected. So let's say it will be 10 to the power of 9 for 1 gigabit. It equals 1 gigabit, right, per second connection, 10 to the power of 9, and divide by 8, because you want to have a result in bytes. So it will be something like 1 I don't know, 112, let me say 500,000, 12,500,000, yeah, something like that. This is the result in bytes, and what you need to do actually, you need to provide this value in the file. So I will switch to this because I don't want to make a mess on my Raspberry Pi, and vi.etc.conf file, and at the end you can provide something like this, and this, something like that. And you can see the BDP, the calculated BDP and round trip time. The value is provided here. So if you will save it and sysctl p means that the values from these configuration files are in use now, and you don't need to reboot the system, the server, right? So post this change, it is required to monitor the output of the command netstat s. So the same for e in 120, sorry, 2.20 semicolon do netstat s, let's say, and eth0, and it goes to the netstat, let's say, eth0 log file, done, right? Cut netstat, and here we go. You have this inside. So what you can do, the same. You can go with grep like this, or I don't know, drop like this. And if you will observe the increasing value, so this will mean that there is a problem and you need to react. Also, there will be an information, as I already mentioned, those 5 that about packet tuned and socket overflowed. So let's say you want to look for the overflow, maybe something like that, overflow with actually packets or something like that. Okay, you have information about packets. What next? Ignored. And you can look for such information like, I don't know, drop. Yeah. So this way you will be able to observe the problem, and thanks to this you can check if everything correct. What is interesting, that the counters like if you have an error, if you have a problem, describe it earlier, and you will check with this command netstat.s, and you will be observing that counters are still seen to be increasing. So what you need to do is to increase the network interface card RX ring buffer size, right? By RX ring buffer size, if you will have a problem, of course. So it is very easy to make it work, because temporarily you can make it work eth with the command ethtool, capital G, eth0, and you can set, for example, 512. That's interesting. Okay, I forgot about RX. Now it should work. I hope so. I don't know will it work or not, but it should increase the RX ring buffer size. Right? You can of course break it, but this way you can set it 128. And what you need to do, you need to increase this buffer size by doubling the RX ring size. So if I have 64, then 128, 226, and etc., etc., etc. So 0.24, and you can increase it. But it's a temporary solution, right? So after that, when you will increase it, all you have to do, instead of G, you have to use the command ethtool, something like that, and the capital S, and you can observe the value, and what you should do is to check those RX, FX, FW. So if you will grab, for example, easily FRX, for example, you can observe the X, but if RB, RX is good, and RX, FW, and there's nothing like that. So thanks this, you can observe all those things. But what if you know that you had an error, and after that you don't observe any error anymore because the RX ring size is properly set? Then also the values for the network parameters are set appropriately. I mean, the calculation of the BDP and round trip time, so everything is set properly, and you do not observe it. But you want to set the RX ring buffer size permanently, right? So what you need to do, you should go to cd etc this config network, for example, or network scripts. It depends on the system. cd etc. I don't know, does this config, does it have, this is a Raspberry Pi, so this config or network scripts on a Debian by default, or Red Hat family, Fedora, etc., etc. I mean, Red Hat family is a Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat, and other operating systems, Linux operating systems that comes from the Red Hat family. And in this directory, you should have files like ifconfig hyphen and name of the adapter. So in my case, it will be ifconfig Ethernet 0. So vi ifdfg hyphen it 0. And at the end, you can provide something like this. I will copy it and paste here into this file. ethtool opts, so h2 options -g rx512, for example, or higher, and that is all. And if you will save it, you have this value permanently, and after the reboot it will work this way, right? Excellent. So that is actually all, I guess. Okay, my camera, okay, now it's fine. So this is the way we can troubleshoot the connection. Of course, there are another options, like, you know, sometimes it may happen. I will switch to the terminal for a moment, and I will show you one quick solution. KTH and the root file system. Let's say that there is 100% in use. So there is no problem with the network. There's no problem with the physical layer, with the network interface card, right? But the system is, the capacity of the hard drive is fully in use. In this situation, when the disk is fully in use, the system is trying to, for example, writing data to the var log directory, to log files, to the temporary directory, and it is unable to perform this work, right? And what you should do, you should monitor the hard drive usage. I don't know, with Zabbix, for example, Grafana with Prometheus, for example, and Influx database or something else. You can even use Ansible for Grafana or another monitoring tool, or even write a script that will be checking the value with this df command and will send the result to your email address. And let's say you will set the threshold for, I don't know, 90% or 95, something like that. 90 is much safer. So you'll have time to react and extend the hard drive, the root file system actually. So I really recommend to use Logical Value Manager because extending hard drive with LVM is really easy and quick solution. And what else actually? What can be problematic also? If someone will ask you, let's say you have a scenario, there is an application in the store or somewhere else in another place, and it's able to connect to a server, but the speed is problematic. There is a very slow response from the application. So there is a lot of problems. I presented only two, right? How to check the disk and how to troubleshoot the network connection. But it can be a problem. The database, it can be a problem with the application itself. So you will have to investigate, for example, with strace, what it's doing. It can be problematic on a server side because I don't know, the free-h will show you how much RAM and swap is in use, so you can check it. Also, you should use the top command to check is there any application that is using the CPU, and the CPU is 100% in use. This is something very important. And there might be a lot of reasons. So troubleshooting the applications, it's not a big deal, but it's also not something very easy. And I will try to, in the future, of course, I will try to present you how to troubleshoot those problems. And I think I will record one video about troubleshooting databases, another one how to use strace, for example, and another one how to troubleshoot the application itself actually. Is there any option to work with and how to make it work, how to check the application, what is going on the application side, between the application on a server side and on the client side, and what else, how to increase the swap, because it's also easy step, very easy, and you can increase the swappiness. And first of all, you need to create additional swap file on a hard drive, then you can increase the swappiness, and I will also present quickly how to make it work. And after that, there will be, it's of course a temporary solution, because if you don't have enough RAM, you need to buy a RAM and put into your server. But temporarily, if you have a big hard drive, you can solve the problem, and then note that you need to buy a RAM for the server. Anyway, what else? If I will find something interesting, how to troubleshoot something in the server, I will record a video about this, and you will be able to observe it. You will be able to learn. If there is something really difficult and you cannot follow the video, or you will find it difficult to follow, right? You'll find it that it's difficult to understand. Do not hesitate to ask me, and I can record another video about a very specific topic, and I can focus exactly on this, and the video can be much shorter than this one. And I hope that you will join this video and you enjoyed all the information I provided, and how to troubleshoot the server connections, network connections, and how to avoid the situation and how to make it work. So thank you very much. Have a nice day or night. Take care. Bye bye.